All right, let's see what Mike has to say.
Democrats do not care about your voice. Let me explain. So, the Democrats just introduced this joint resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution of the United States to abolish the Electoral College and to provide for the direct election of the President and Vice President of the United States. You can pause to read. The Electoral College is described in Article 2 of the United States Constitution. Basically, the Electoral College gives every state in the Union an equal voice in determining who's to be president and vice president of the United
No, it gives every person an equal voice.
States. The
Oh, is he
Electoral
talking about the
College.
Electoral College? No, no, that's not why it exists.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I thought he was talking about the amendment.
Sure that every state in the Union is equal, but that's not what the Democrats want. They want to make sure they determine who becomes president and vice president.
Good Lord. Okay, so the Electoral College is a holdover for a compromise from slavery. And the problem is that some states are given inordinate amount of power over other states. But it like people here's the thing. It's not just stopping people from voting out of like the Midwest or from, Republicans from voting out of blue states. It's stopping blue people in red states, and basically people don't show up to vote because their vote doesn't matter. That's the whole point. Their vote does not matter. And the point to get rid of it is to give everybody an equal vote. Republicans already have inordinate amount of representation in this country, really, really inordinate amount of representation. When you look at like Wyoming, what 900,000 people represent. Two senators represent 900,000 people. In California, two senators represent 40 million. 3.5 million people are represented by one representative in California and 900,000 out of Wyoming. It's not an equal system. It's purposefully set up for the Republicans to have the majority they did. If we had a more representative sample, Republicans wouldn't lead. It's just that simple. They would not have the majority anywhere, and that's why they're so desperate to hold on to it.
They want to demolish the equality between the states. They want the United States to be a direct democracy. But Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution clearly states that we are not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic.
A
They're the same fucking
constitutional
thing.
republic is a form of democracy. And this guy literally was in the military. It's really like, it's hard to argue with people that don't have a baseline understanding, right? Like, America is a democracy. America is not a direct democracy. That's why your argument is stupid. Because, like, if you were going to say we shouldn't be a direct democracy, then that would make sense. But like he's arguing we're a constitutional republic, therefore we're not a democracy. But also, I don't know. It's the argument's bizarro. I don't get it. Like it's just like he's so confused. He's like wrapped himself up in a pretzel. We are a constitutional republic. The Constitution says constitutional republic is a form of democracy. He says we're against democracy, but democracy does not mean direct democracy. It's a absolute cluster that he has going here in his head. I've talked to Mike a lot. He's not the brightest.
Right?
He he's not the brightest, and I've talked to him numerous different times. I'd be curious to know what his stance on tariffs are now, and the prices of goods going up because I had a
He'll
like
defend it.
two. I mean, I had like a 2 hour long argument with him and some other chick that were against raising it because it would cause inflation. They were against raising the minimum wage because it would cause inflation, and now they voted for someone that is going to cause inflation.
This is just more evidence that the Democrats are sore losers and they want to destroy this country from within. Let me know what you think in the comments.
You're dumb.
So, like January 6th.
Right. Yeah. Like January 6th, exactly. Um, they don't understand basics about politics, even though, yeah, they don't understand like basics about politics or government or anything or how it works or anything in that degree. If you're for equality, you should be totally fine with one vote equaling one person. Otherwise, I mean, because you notice that nobody is arguing that Democrats or that we should like portion uh, a state's vote based off of the district they live in for the federal government, right? Like nobody's advocating for that. Because that's like, wouldn't that be a crazy system if suddenly we were like, okay, let's just keep it going. Let's take a state and let's go to district level, and then the winners of said district will total a tally, and then we'll determine it that way. It would be stupid. It would be chaotically bad. But we advocate for that system anyway. I mean, we live in a country where a handful of states select the outcome and the trajectory for everyone, which is a bizarre way to run a country. Because, like, I don't share anything in common with people in Pennsylvania. So why should their state have this inordinate amount of power over my state and the trajectory of my state, despite the fact that in a lot of these other Republican states, they are a debt. They cost my state money, infrastructure dollars that we don't get to send, that we have to send elsewhere because we don't get it. How is that? What do you mean? How's that fair? If you want to make it equal, why don't you start paying for your own stuff? Like there are holes in roads and roads that are crumbling and messed up in my state because those dollars go elsewhere. And I'm tired of watching Republicans sit there and go like, oh, the money that they don't have, they don't pay for, they can't even manage their own state, and they're turning around with my state and Jaden's state in the West Coast, and they're just taking our money. You know, like shouldn't that if you want to talk about financial responsibility, especially in the government, that's like the first thing you should do is be able to like produce more money than you're taking in, not be a welfare state. I think about that all the time. Like, there's so many projects in the state of Washington that we've had to postpone or not do because it was too expensive. And you know, like we have toll roads and stuff like that all through Seattle as a result of sending these people money. But it's crazy to me. Like, what benefit do these states provide? Like, is a debt? I mean, as a debt to America, like what benefit? Am I? I don't feel like I'm that off base here. Like, I understand why we do it, but it also
No, it's a fair
irritates me
question.
that someone in Pencil. I mean, it irritates me that for someone that studies politics on a regular basis, that my vote counts the same as somebody that's never left their hometown, has no idea, never read a book, uh, and that this my vote matters the same as them, right? Like that my vote has equal weight to this, and in fact, in a lot of these states, they have more. They have more weight than my vote. That doesn't make any sense. And it's frustrating for a lot of people, especially on the West Coast that are enlightened, that have done a lot of the policies that Republicans claim will destroy a country, to watch them work, and then them just be like, oh well, it'll happen. Like you know, yesterday we had the minimum wage debate in here. It's like I've heard all the arguments against minimum wage, dating back to when we did it in 2015 in Seattle. Right? It was actually before that, out by the airport. Like I said, it was before that, like a year before that or 2 years before that. They went to a minimum wage. It was increased, and I heard all the arguments. The arguments I'm still hearing now. None of it happened. But we have to watch as they like just destroy the country, take our money, and then control everything. Because why? They have an inordinate amount of power where they shouldn't have it. The idea of senators too is just dumb. We should get rid of senators. There's no reason we should have senators. I mean, can't
Especially
really
Senator
find one.
Kennedy.
Right. And I just want to point out, they're also saying that Republican voters in those states have no voice. They're not just saying that, oh, Democrats, they know that if they allow the Electoral College to go away, that it's bad for Republicans. In all likelihood,
Mm-hmm.
they'll probably never win an election again. That's the truth. If it goes away, they'll probably never win an election again. There'll be no need to go out to Pennsylvania into the middle of nowhere and spend all this time campaigning there. Democrats could go to L.A. They could go to Houston. They could go to major metropolitan areas and just go on a circuit that way, and it would be far more efficient than going to one or two states. And they could speak to everyone.
And it's so
I know a
blatantly
lot of
contradictory to
Democrats.
say that, like, we want our vote to matter more than people living in these states, but also don't let their vote matter more than ours.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's just like, and here's the thing: is like, I would respect their position more if they were just honest about it, but they're not. It's just political subterfuge, right? Oh, well, it's because no, that's not why. It's because it wouldn't benefit you as a party. Just be honest about it, right? Like I've been honest about the Democrats making DC and Puerto Rico a state. It is because it would benefit the Democrats, sure. But let's be real, like on a real talk. It would be fair. Puerto Rico and DC have bigger populations than a lot of Republican states. Why should they not have that representation? You can say it
And more
benefits
economic
Democrats.
output.
Come up with right. Come up with better platforms. That's not my fault that they don't support you because you guys have bad policies. Have better policies. Or adding more representatives. Sure, it benefits Democrats. Absolutely benefits Democrats if we were to add more House seats, right? Come up with better policies. Bring those people in. Just because you guys are unpopular shouldn't be a reason that an entire group of people have to be subjugated to worse outcomes. Or like with what is it? The Supreme Court, right? Well, you want to add seats? Yeah, I do. Why? Because you guys have created such a capitalistic corporatist nightmare with your horrific decisions that have had disastrous consequences every single time that you can't be trusted. And look at what you guys do to try and navigate and make sure that Republicans hold the Supreme Court. If you want to go on a rotation, sure. But you guys have introduced so much horrific legislation, taken away so many rights, given corporations such good benefit and deference. It's like, why would we trust you? Like, there's at least reasons, but I'm not hiding like that as being a reason. It would benefit Democrats. But if I were to ask Mike, are you doing it because it benefits Republicans? He would probably say no, as most Republicans would. They just try and gaslight you. Yeah.
We should convince them that it benefits Republicans to get rid of the Electoral College. We'll just say Trump won the popular vote, so get rid of it.
We should say that, well, there's so many Republicans, and just make up some bullshit. So just make up some bullshit story.
There's so many more. You
There's
guys
so
are the
many
silent
Republicans.
majority.
Dude, there's
Or are
so
you
many
not?
Republicans in California that just feel like they wouldn't vote. And if you gave them the right to vote, oh my God, they would go
Right.
ass. It's
They-
because
yeah,
they
exactly.
lost a bunch of elections, they don't show up. But a second, they're
And
like,
New
oh my God, my
York,
vote counts.
Illinois.
There's actually more. We could convince them there's more Republicans in California than there are Democrats.
Yeah.
There's more Republicans in California. They just keep losing elections, so they stop showing up to vote.
We should do that.
But there's actually more.
We should run that slide tomorrow.
That'd be great.